Hey guys, it's Deborah. So I have a bunch of short videos that I'm trying to put together because there are so many messages that I feel like the Lord wants me to get out, and they're encouraging things. Some are a little bit of chastening, different things like that. So this is not going to be visually stimulating, but I want to just share this with you guys and just try to just get them out, some shorter, smaller videos. So this happened to me about a week or so ago. I was driving and a school bus was in front, like came up to me the other direction, and they put their stop sign out. So I had to stop. So I stopped and I felt extremely drawn to look at the number on the bus, and it was 153. It was like on a white piece of paper they had stuck to windshield. Now this bus at the bottom, it says 2177, which is interesting because I just pulled this off the internet and I think about 717, but that's not what was on the bus. The bus said 153. And I can tell you this is not a regular occurrence for me to be like thinking about what's on the bus. This was very, very, very specific. I felt very drawn to look at this number on the bus, and the bus was 153. I've never, that I remember, ever talked about the number 153. I know people talk about it in many forms because of when Jesus, because of Luke 21, which I will explain, the 153 fish. Now, I think a lot of people have a lot of things on this, but I have nothing else except for what I'm going to talk to you now about. So I'm going to read quickly just part of John 21. And it was Jesus. After Jesus had resurrected, he came to the disciples. He saw them. Well, let me just start from verse trying to think. You know what? I'll just start from verse 1 and just go down to verse 11. After these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias, and on this wise showed he himself. There were together Simon Peter and Thomas called Didymus, and Nathanael and Canaan Galilee, and the sons of Zebedee, and the two others of his disciples. Simon Peter saith unto him, I go a fishing. They say unto him, We also go with thee. They went forth and entered into a ship immediately, and that night they caught nothing. But when the morning was now come, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples knew not that it was Jesus. Then Jesus saith unto them, Children, have ye any meat? They answered him, No. And he said unto them, Cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. They cast therefore, and now they were not able to draw it for the multitude of fishes. Therefore the disciple whom Jesus loved, that's John, I'm just saying that. It's funny that he wrote the book. He's like, the disciple who Jesus loved, saith unto Peter, it is the Lord. Now when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he girt, sorry, this is funny. He girt his fisher's coat unto him, for he was naked. I mean, Peter, right? I don't know why that's just so funny. He's just a wild guy, it feels like, and did cast himself into the sea. And the other disciples came in a little ship, for they were not far from land, but as it were 200 cubits, dragging the net with fishes. As soon then as they were come into land, they saw a fire, coals there, and fish laid thereon, and bread. Jesus saith unto them, Bring of the fish which ye have now caught. This is the verse. Simon Peter went up and drew the net to land full of great fishes, 153. And for all there were so many, yet was not the net broken. So it's interesting. It's like a 111. It's John 21:11 to 111. So anyway, I'm not trying to get all whatever with numbers, but numbers are important to God, hence the book of Numbers. So I read that, and I didn't read it the best ever because I don't know why. I think I'm tired. I wasn't reading very well. But anyway, so what do we have here? We have a story of the disciples going back to fish. So let me tell you a few other things, and then I'll get to the moral of the story. So I looked up 153 in the Strongs, and this is in the Hebrew, and it means a force or to force, and it comes from Ezra. When I don't remember exactly the details, but it had something to do with the building of the temple and them being forced to stop or something. I could be a little bit wrong there. I think it had something to do with forcing them to stop, but it was basically being forced. And I wouldn't even go into all of this. When I saw the number on the bus, I wasn't even going to go into all of it, but I got a confirmation, and I'll tell you what that was. But first, yeah. So I looked it up in Strong's. What is 153? And it means to force. And if you think about it, Jesus kind of forced them to, or told them sternly to go catch more fish. So he was kind of like, basically what I'm saying is he's getting them back on track. He's being a little stern here. And then I looked it up in the Greek, and in the Greek, it means to dishonor, make ashamed. To dishonor and make ashamed. Yes. So basically, these are not good things. Now, that's just the Strong's Concordance, but when you compare it to the story, it actually does make sense. So let me get back to, let me just tell you how I'm just trying to figure out how to say this best. Let me tell you about the confirmation I got. So after I saw this school bus, I went on with my life, but I knew, I could just feel it was a thing. You know when you just know it's a thing? Well, those who are walking like in the Holy Spirit, you know when something's a thing. Anyway, so I just knew it was a thing. I am actually recording this video at 11:53 p.m. Hold on. I literally had to take a picture of my clock right now. This is when... Are you kidding me? This is when I'm recording this video at 11:53. I mean, there's the 153. Like, what? What is that? All right. Thank you, Lord. I'm sorry, but this kind of thing. Like, you can't even make that up. How am I recording this at 11:53? So anyway, back to the story. So I got a confirmation, like maybe a week later. I was watching a video by Rhonda Empson. So I'm going to pin it to the comments. At around it's funny, 15-minute and 3 mark, I noticed. That's like 1503. She's talking about, but you could just go from maybe like the 14-minute mark. I don't know. I just noticed at 1503. That's when I noticed. I like scrolled forward to see when she was talking about it, but she was talking about this dream that someone else had, some man, and it was about a bus pulling up in front of his house. It was about the rapture and everybody being gone. And it was about, well, listen to the dream. That's more, if you're here for rapture-y stuff, go for that. So anyway, yeah, I'll link it, I'll pin it. But around the 15-minute mark, and she's talking about her friend's dream. And he then said he knew the dream represented the 153 fish. Now, I don't know, there was like 5 women in the dream, 3 something else, 1 bus. I don't know. Somehow he came to that. I'm sorry. These videos are not going to be super polished, but it's not about that. I just got to get all the stuff out. He, there was something in the dream. And if you go to that video, that I'm going to pin in the comments at the top, then you will hear there's a connection there. So you can get some, rapture dream, fun things and things like that, if that's what you're looking for. This is actually more of a chastening. So I was like, what is this, God? So you have the story of them going back fishing, the disciples. You have them catching the 153 fish, which I'm sure there's many, many eons of significance. Like, one thing I will say to you is God has been, and I've said this before, having me in the book of Ezekiel every single day. Then I found out when I Googled, I was like, what's up with 153 fish? Like, is there a thing? And it said it's linked. John is linked with Ezekiel. Now, I know I'm getting off track and I'm not going to go too far in this, but John is somehow pulling from the book of Ezekiel when he's writing John 21 and he's talking about the 153 fish. And it's called Fig Tree Ministries. If you like Google Fig Tree Ministries, it's up to you. I'll link the video too. It's like a documentary. They have a website on why the 153 is linked to Ezekiel, which is linked to the number 17. If you're into this kind of thing, I don't really know where it's going to take you. But the point is, I've been told to read all about Ezekiel, which I am, and I think I'm going to be sharing some stuff with you guys about that, about war coming, judgment on Babylon or America or wherever, I'll get into all that stuff. Anyway, so there's a link there, and so there's a lot to the 153, but what I want to talk to you about is giving up, basically. So part of, giving up before the rapture. So, one, you see here with what happened in John 21. I hope I haven't been saying Luke. John 21. They went back fishing. They were like, Jesus, died. and they didn't know what to do, and they gave up. They were not gave up, but like they went back to their regular life, and that is very tempting situation. And I've asked God, how long are we supposed to be in this like state of life? Obviously all generations should be waiting for the Lord, but the way it is so intensely for some of us, with so much that he's shown us, then it's kind of like a very weird state of being, to be here on this earth, but knowing things are happening what seems like very close, very different than other generations. And I know everybody thinks they're the generation, but unfortunately, fortunately, one generation has to be the generation. And well, I won't get into all that, but the point is we clearly see the day approaching, clearly. So that being said, is many people will want to go back to their regular life, or, back to normal, like after the demic situation, like everything's back to normal will go back. And Jesus was, I believe, chastening them by having them catch all those fish, by doing a miracle. They didn't even recognize him, but John, who is the closest to him, and that goes into some of the stuff I've been talking about before with intimacy with the Lord, and when you're closer versus farther, he was the one who saw him first, and then Peter next ran naked or whatever. Sorry, he wasn't naked. I forgot. He put on something. But he I love that about him. I like that he's wild, but I resonate a lot with John because of Revelation and how God has spoken to me. So anyway, that's just a thing for me. But yeah, and like whatever. Anyway, so the point is, they one by one, they listened to his chastening. They ran to him. They're like, no, this is Jesus. Forget fishing. We're coming to him. Like, he reminded them, and that happens to us. Sometimes we get back into the world a little bit because we're just like, not that we love the world, but it's just like, you're like, what else am I supposed to do? Twiddle my thumbs, and obviously you're not supposed to do that. And there's plenty to do for the kingdom, but people do these things. We do these things, but the chastening came, and you see John first understood, then Peter, then the rest. And that's kind of like the intimacy levels. This is a thing. And that I think will ripple throughout eternity, what you do here on this earth and your intimacy with the Lord, and maybe just different standings that you might have in the kingdom and different things. So it's much better to be closer, the closer you can get. So anywho, he basically, if I look up those Strong's meanings that I told you, one meant to force. He kind of forced them back on track. Like, no, you're not fishing. We're not fishing anymore. And then the other thing was, the Greek meaning on Strong's, I believe, was to make ashamed. So, come on, they would be ashamed. One, Peter was literally naked. Like, he was caught with his pants down. So, and there's even a verse about that. Like, when the Lord comes, be girded up. There's something there. So, sorry, I don't have all of that on me, but it's about being girded when the Lord comes. So anyway, he forced them back to work, and they were a bit ashamed. They were like, you're right. We were not supposed to be just out fishing. Like, we were supposed to have faith and other things. So it's kind of, yeah. So I think that's what God was saying with this bus. And it's funny, there's a big stop sign. He's like, he stopped me. Maybe I was, who knows, at that moment. Maybe I was doing something that was kind of the world, and he's like, get on back on track, girl. Or maybe it's that he wants me to just share it with you guys because you guys are getting off track. But he stopped me at the stop thing. He was like 153. And there's obviously a level of abundance and, things there, miraculous abundance he's trying to point out because of the fish, right? They caught so many, the net didn't break. I mean, he'll do great miracles. It's always like when you seek him first, then all of that will be added. So keep seeking the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Even like if we're only here for another little bit, whatever, still that's the method always. You seek him, and then he'll give you the abundance, the big fish, the desires. But anyway, I think that's what this was. And then Rhonda's dream, actually, Rhonda's video, if you don't know who this is, her name is Rhonda Empson. She has a YouTube channel. Anyway, I said I'll link it. So she first was talking about her dream, and in her dream, some people, it was about a stadium, I think like a game, like a football game or something, and it's detailed. You'll hear it's detailed, but some people left early. They left the game early, and this is kind of it, when you're kind of getting to the end of things, some people want to duck out early. Some it's like, I can't do this anymore, and that kind of thing. So there's an endurance situation, and just keep on. And because the disciples were like, look, this is not working out, they went back to work, to fishing, and, they were embarrassed, they were forced, they were a little ashamed. And you can see the different levels of intimacy, who responded first, second, and third. So some people say things like there's good, better, and best, or something. I don't know. I think is it good, better, and best? There's 3 levels sometimes of things you can do just in life. And it's like you can do things that are fine and good and well. And then there's a better version of that thing. And then there's the best version. Like if you think about like healthy eating or whatever, like there's a good version, like you could eat a granola bar as a snack. Okay, a better version is you can eat, say, a homemade granola bar, so it's no like bad ingredients. That would be better. But best would be maybe you can eat an apple, because that's just completely unprocessed and like full of packed nutrients or whatever. Like I'm just giving a totally made up example, but the good would be like the disciples who finally figured out it was Jesus. The better would be Peter, and the best would be like John in that scenario. So anyway, I've talked a long time. So hopefully that was a blessing. Oh, wait, I forgot. The main thing at the end to encourage you guys, I was supposed to include this verse in Hebrews. It says, "For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth." So yeah, that's the point. He's not doing it. He does it to those he loves. Oh, wait, I'm not done. I have something good. Hold on. This is just to another deeper level, but it relates to the verse where I just said God chasten those he loves. So when I was looking up 153 in the Bible, the only other time that number, like 153 fish, is in the Bible, is here in 2 Chronicles 2:17. And it's actually the number 153,000. It's when King Solomon takes a census of the people. He takes a census just like his father, King David. So, and then his total is 153,000 men. Now, here's what I found very interesting. You may know this story, but King David also took a census of the people. It was a huge deal. Look, it says 1 Chronicles 2:21:1. Hey, that's like John 21:11. 1 Chronicles 21:1. Whoa. And it says, "And Satan stood up against Israel and moved David to number Israel." So David took a census. And if you guys don't know the story, it did not go well. Look, it says Satan stood up against him. And he took this census, and it ended up in disaster. God gave him like 3 choices. Do you want the enemies to take you out? Do you want me to kill a bunch of people? He gave him some choices. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact story, but you can read it. I was like, hey, the only time 153 was in the Bible another time was, again, not a good thing. And it was when Solomon took the census. And again, it was just like, it was like a bad thing. And then it brought me to thinking about, why wasn't Solomon reprimanded? And this article actually mentions it. It says, "It is strange that God says nothing about this other than that is recorded in the narrative, nor is there any apparent judgment due to this incident. When it's compared to what happened to David when he got out of line and nearly everyone else, this is really strange." And then it says, there are very few instances, if you go closer to the bottom, there are very few instances of God reproving Solomon. So it's not that he never did, but it's just a lot less than David. Like, he was so close with David. Like, do you notice, if you're very close with God, he will reprimand you more because you're listening, you're open, you're not delusional. Like, when you're sinning and all that stuff, you're kind of delusional. Like, you can't even be reprimanded. But anyway, this whole story, it was interesting to me because I was looking up the 153, and the only other instance of it was with Solomon. And then it made me think of this verse again. "For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth." So if you're being like kind of rebuked or chastened or whatever, that's a good thing. It means you're by God. That means you're, a son or daughter, and he receiveth you. So Solomon wasn't even rebuked for doing the census. Now, I don't know if it was because it was a different reason for it or whatever, but look at how David got rebuked from just stepping out of line for a minute, because he really was close with the Lord. So anyway, there was a lot of twists and turns in that. And yeah, basically in the end of this all, I got a stop sign, like, really look at this and halt what you're doing. And then that number, and it related to me to John 21, which was about basically a bit of a chastening and an embarrassment, where they tried to go back to do their regular life. And he was like, no. It's not about that. And then he did that miracle. And I'm sure there's so many layers and levels to it. Like I said, John 21:11 is linked with Ezekiel. And there's a whole thing there. And I said I saw it on a website called the Fig Tree Ministries. It relates to numbers, like, I won't say numerology, like the Hebrew alphabet. And anyway, it goes really deep. It goes really deep. So I can link that website. I can't vouch for what they're talking about, everything, but if you're interested in that realm, pray on that. But for me, I got that confirmation from Rhonda's video. I literally recorded this at 11:53, 153. So this is definitely for someone. And just if you're in a situation where you're like getting into your job or getting into some sort of family stuff or getting into something back in the world where you're like, I have to take my mind off this. Like, I literally need to just take my mind off things and I'm going to go back and do some stuff. Then I do think this may be for you, because Rhonda's dream was about people leaving early and the rapture. And then she shared a dream with a man about 153, but it was about kind of like ducking out and like being too tired or just frustrated or whatever. So it could be for you. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't for me. Hey, it's for everybody, but some people are really feeling that way. And I get it. It is a very weird place, because the other thing too is a problem too is that we are very like, you don't feel like you used to with the church. Everything's getting divided. People are seeing things very differently. And Jesus did come to bring a sword, not to bring peace. So he will be dividing. He keeps on doing that. So unfortunately, if you read the letters to the 7 churches in Revelation, I mean, there was only, 2 churches that he said some good things about and 1 who's accounted worthy to escape. So basically the point is, right now it can be very frustrating and it can make you feel like you got to keep your mind off of all of this by just getting involved in like going back fishing. But you don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to be rebuked. You don't want to be chastened when the time comes. You don't want to be caught naked. I don't know why that's just funny. You want to be doing the Lord's work when he comes. And also, you definitely want to be that closest, like John was, like, you want to be the best, the good, the better, the best. Just aim for that. Not everybody's going to be there. But that's your goal, is to recognize Jesus's voice the minute he talks. So I think that's it. I think that's the moral. And then he chastens those he loves. So this is kind of a chastening. I didn't even know where it was going. Honestly, I just knew the 153 bus was important, and that I got a confirmation when I saw that video of Rhonda's, which I'll pin in the comments. So I knew all of this was important, but I didn't know where it was going to lead. And he just kept, if I wanted to, I could go even deeper, which I do want to, but then I have all these other videos. So here I'm going to stop it. I'm going to let it be. And then I'm going to start working on the other ones as soon as I can. This was supposed to be shorter, but that's all right. So hope it blessed you guys and was interesting. And I guess I will talk to you in the next one, or hopefully see you in the air. Until next time, God bless and shalom.